We're in the Eastover Ridge, Catawba Lands Conservancy easement area, which is right along Briar Creek and is absolutely perfect barred owl habitat. Barred owls love to be right next to a stream. They like a pretty big woods with some big old trees, and there's plenty of trees in here that would be big enough for them to nest in. They nest in cavities in trees. So I want to see if there are any owls around here. Last year we knew there was a pair in the area, so we're going to broadcast the territorial call of some barred owls, and this will, even though they've probably already just gone to bed, if they hear this, they'll be a little bit disturbed that there's somebody in their territory. So they're likely to wake up, at least call back, and maybe even come in. So we're going to try a little bit of broadcasting this call and see if there's anybody home. Our work on barred owls in Charlotte began 10 or 11 years ago. It became obvious that it is obvious that there are lots of barred owls in Charlotte. I always say you can't swing a dead rat in suburban Charlotte without hitting a barred owl. But if you read the books about barred owls, the books say that barred owls need large stands of old-growth forest to persist. Well, we looked at how many barred owls are calling around Myers Park and Dilworth and Eastover, and we knew that either the book's wrong or the barred owls hadn't read the book. So we really sort of set out to answer the question, why are there so many barred owls in Charlotte? And it turns out that within 10 miles of Trade and Tryon, there are at least 300 pairs of barred owls nesting. There's 2 pairs per square mile everywhere that you see big old willow oaks and so a more or less continuous canopy. So the answer to that original conundrum of had the owls not read the book or is the book wrong, the answer is neither. That what really is going on is that as far as barred owls are concerned, the older suburban neighborhoods, Myers Park, Dilworth, Eastover, are old-growth forests. Because what a barred owl wants in old-growth forests or what it needs trees that are big enough to have holes in them so the owls can nest. And it needs a pretty open understory, because the way the owls hunt, they just sit on a branch and they look around and they wait for something to move. We call them sit and wait predators. And in order to do that effectively, you need a pretty open understory. So young second growth forest doesn't work for 2 reasons. The trees are too small to have nest cavities in them, and usually the undergrowth is so dense that the owls really can't hunt effectively. So at the opposite extreme, the old fancy neighborhoods in suburban Charlotte have great big trees and a completely open understories, mowed lawns and azalea bushes, so it makes for great hunting for barred owls. So these old neighborhoods in suburban Charlotte are sort of the uber old-growth forest for barred owls. They're perfect. A lot of wildlife is adaptable and can move into areas that are fairly highly disturbed by humans, but there are a lot of species that can't do that. And a lot of them need at least the basic infrastructure that you see around here, a closed canopy and some understory that isn't destroyed by deer. So this kind of habitat, even in small patches, is a really effective refuge for lots of species of wildlife, both birds, mammals, reptiles, and amphibians, where they can either breed or stop and rest on migration. So being involved with the Catawba Lands Conservancy was compelling because it was the local boots on the ground organization here. I'm a member of the Nature Conservancy, and I understand the importance of the big picture work that they do, and working on huge tracts of land up in the Appalachians and big coastal reserves. But the old corny adage of think globally and act locally just drives one to seek out your local land conservancy and do something where you can sort of get your hands around it and see it and be out there with a shovel helping out, doing something in your local community. Land Trust can really speak for wildlife by going out there and creating the tracts of land or preserving the tracts of land that the wildlife needs. So the wildlife can't send us an email that's saying, hey, we're running out of space here. Somebody needs to keep their eye on the ball and recognize areas or habitats that are being lost, and the habitats that are critical for the survival of species, local species. So the land conservancies, land trusts speak for wildlife through their actions.